Welcome to the Enterprise Builders Podcast, powered by P3, where we feature top industry leaders discussing what it takes to build a profitable company and stay on top. Now, let's get started with the show.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Aaron Stahl. I'm the CEO and founder of P3. I'm here with Shannon Taylor. He's one of our longer running franchisees and one of our more successful ones. And we're doing a little mini podcast series with some of our more successful franchisees. So I'm excited to have Shannon here today, hear a little bit more about him personally, professionally, and just really hear his story. So Shannon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. Well, let's go ahead and jump into it. First off, I'd just like to hear a little bit more about you and some of your background. So, why don't you just tell us just where you're from, what was it like growing up, and just kind of how you got into the business world.
Okay, sure. I'm from Lincolnton, North Carolina, a little small town close to Charlotte, about, 30, 40 miles from Charlotte, probably. And, growing up for me, very, average, lower middle class kind of family. My dad was a home builder. My mom was stay at home and older brother, older sister, and pretty normal, I guess. I played a lot of baseball growing up. That was something I really enjoyed. Now I get to do that with my sons. So having a lot of fun there with that. In terms of, how I got into business, my background is accounting. I'm a CPA, and something I knew I kind of wanted to do ever since probably, high school or even before. I just always enjoyed working with numbers and that sort of thing. And so I did that for many years out of college, got a CPA and all that. And so when I was working with a real estate development company doing tax returns, I was spending a lot of hours, ton of hours doing tax returns. And it was getting to the point where I had a long commute into the office, a lot of hours at the office, and I just wanted to do something different. And I remember when I was in college, this thing called utility bill auditing. And I always kind of stuck in the back of my mind. And so when I got to that point where I was like, hey, I want to think about doing something different, it came to my mind. And so I thought, let me do a little bit of research, and did a Google search, found cost analyst, had some meetings, some discussions, and here we are.
Very cool. Very cool. So what would you say was the catalyst for you deciding to kind of get into business for yourself? Because that's kind of a big leap. I heard about long hours that you had, but was it really just, I don't know, tell us a little bit more about that, what that decision was like.
Yeah, I've always had a desire to have my own business. I was always, just had an interest in that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I had heard about utility bill auditing. I was looking at, hey, what kind of things could I get into? So that was part of it. The other part was, I think, just more freedom, more time with family, more ability to kind of dictate, my time, my income possibilities. And I knew that having my own business would be able to facilitate that. So that was probably the driving force to do that.
Very cool. And did it feel like this super risky decision for you? Because I think most people would think of accountants as very risk averse, right? And getting into your business for yourself is a big deal. So curious a little more about that decision.
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked that, because at the time that I was wanting to make this change, we had, my oldest son was 4, almost 5, and he was 4, and then we had a little boy on the way.
Oh, wow.
So when I was telling my wife, hey, this is what I want to do, it was like, are you sure about that? So yeah, it was definitely some risk, but I'm always one that, I'm not risk adverse. I'm more calculated risk. And I weighed it out, hey, this is what this business is. This is what it's about. This is what it takes. And while I had some reservations in some respect, if I could really do it, there was a part of me that was like, I can do this, and I'm just gonna move forward. And I didn't take the full complete plunge. There were some things working behind the scenes that really helped me to be able to do this, as far as taking risk. But I don't know. I just felt like this. I liked the business opportunity that was presented to me, what the business is about, what we do.
Mhm.
And it fit well for what I do as a CPA in terms of helping clients. It's a different focus, obviously, but there were some similarities, and I just felt like I could do it.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm always interested to hear people's decision-making process there, because at different phases of your life, it's a risky or less risky decision, but it's always a big deal. For me, I got into business when I was 22, so it was like
Yeah.
single,
Yeah.
no expenses, nothing. So it was I don't know. In hindsight, for me, it wasn't a very risky decision. It was just kind of like what you said. I wanted that freedom, wanted that flexibility, wanted the opportunity to work for myself, and I was scared of the 9 to 5. So thanks for sharing. So at the time, you'd already launched and been in business as your own CPA for a while, correct? So, or did you still have a 9 to 5?
Well, yeah, no, I was working full time for a real estate development company in Charlotte, and I also had a CPA firm on my own, but it was just very small, a handful of clients, and so it wasn't a big thing. But it was something that I could also use as well, right? I mean, I could
Okay.
always kind of leave the corporate world, so to speak, and then kind of have two businesses that I'm working. So
Okay. Very cool. And I'm just going to provide a little color here, just so everybody's
sure.
familiar. Shannon was talking about getting in the utility auditing business. He was affiliated with Cost Analyst, and P3. We actually acquired Cost Analyst in 2018. So Shannon had been an affiliate with them for a while, and then after we bought Cost Analyst and converted to a franchise, Shannon was, I think actually you were technically our first franchisee by
Yeah,
by by
I think
like a
so.
by like a couple hours actually. So congratulations on that, and yeah, we were excited to have you join the franchise, obviously. So, well, very cool. Well, I guess when you were getting started in the cost reduction space, what was it that gave you the most traction, the most results? Because really, I imagine you're having to get outside of your comfort zone, because you were really just talking to people cold. You might have had some existing relationships as your CPA, but I know for me, when I got into this business, I had zero sales experience, and that was honestly kind of intimidating. Not kind of, it was. We'd love to hear a little bit more about that, how you overcame that, and how you got up and running and some traction with some wins.
Yeah, that's boy, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. The whole sales thing. I mean, I'm an accountant, like I said, and I am a true accountant when it comes to my work and what I do. I'm happy sitting at a desk crunching numbers like all day. I mean, that's cool for me. So to get out and talk to people, um, definitely a struggle, and it hasn't gone away. I mean, it's still there, right? I mean, it's one of those things that really, um, if I allow it to, it can be a hindrance to my business. So I have to be careful with that. But yeah, it was one of those things to where, even though that there was a challenge and an obstacle there, I think what overrode that were two things. One, I could see the opportunity of what this business can produce, not necessarily for me, although that was part, but what it means to the client, to the company I'm reaching out to. If you've got something good to tell somebody, you want to tell them, right? And so it becomes less of a of a difficulty to be able to just talk about that because you really believe in what you're doing and what you're presenting to them. So that was a big part of it. The service is very good. I totally understood it from day one, and I could see the benefit from it.
Right.
So there was that. And the second is, I just wanted to, just had a desire to want to do something different,
Mhm.
and I wanted to put complete effort into that. And so I did. In terms of specifics, I had a few, when I say few, two or three folks that I already knew that I knew could be good candidates for our service. And so I reached out to them right off the bat and was able to get a couple, two, three audits signed real quick. And so that helped. It helped okay, I went into a meeting, signed the audits, and I can see the tangible result.
Sure.
That certainly gave me a lot of confidence. Um, and then the rest of it, tons of cold outreach. I mean, just, you know, call after call after call, sending emails, doing whatever it took to be able to make that connection and get the appointment, and just a lot of tenacity, really.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really the name of the game. And I think, for you to get a few quick wins was fantastic. I think that's the opposite of what I did. I was calling on Fortune 500 companies as a one man shop, thinking that was going to work. That's, I guess, the naivete of a 22-year-old. But getting those quick wins is great. And so, and you just mentioned tenacity. I am curious to hear a little bit more about, I don't know, an example or a story of when you had to really use tenacity, because I mean that is the name of the game in a lot of business development stuff.
Oh, for sure it is. I mean, I've certainly been blessed to be able to make a call, get a person first time, make an appointment, go on the appointment, and get the audit. That happens, but that's not par for the course, so to speak. That's not the norm. The norm is a long, slow process. Tons of calls, reaching out, finally getting a hold of somebody, working with their schedule, et cetera. I guess as far as a specific example, there was one client that I signed that very long process, 2 years of following up, reconnecting, and just being very patient, but yet persistent, and maintaining professionalism as well. It was a client that I had no connection with. It was a LinkedIn connection, a cold LinkedIn connection, so to speak. Started a conversation, moved that conversation to the phone, and it was just a series of, we're going to put you off. We're going to put you off. This has come up. Can't do this. But yeah, he still was maintaining interest, which certainly helped. But it's one of those things to where if you don't continue to follow up and continue to chase, then those kinds of opportunities can slip away. So you really do have to maintain that effort, so to speak. And I'm glad I did, because it turned out to be one of the best clients I've ever had. So
Nice.
yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it's really is the name of the game. I think just to share a little story myself, and I'm gonna have to come up with some different stories as I do a few more of these. But I remember when I was getting started, I I had a few connections. My dad actually introduced me to a gas station group, and they, gave me referrals to 5 more, and it really helped kind of launch the business once I decided to start local versus calling Fortune 500 companies. But I walked in, I was doing cold outreach, and I walked into the office of a guy that owned about 6 restaurants. And I walked in there, and I said, "Hey, my name's Aaron. I think I can help you." And he was just sitting at his desk with his back to me. And I don't even know how the gatekeeper let me in, but I must have done something right to get that far. And I told him what I was doing and how I could help. And he just turns around. He's like, basically told me to get out of there and quit wasting his time. And I think going back to, how sales is hard, you have to overcome a lot of that stuff. If this had been the first time I'd ever walked in to talk to somebody, I probably would have turned around and walked out. But as it were, I'd kind of gotten a little bit more of a calloused, bulletproof, I guess, to rejection And I remember telling him, I'm like, look, man, we're not going to make any money unless we save you money. And I don't waste my own time. So I'm sure as heck not wasting yours. And that's all, I mean, that's all it took. He signed up right there. So, I think tenacity and just sticking with it is such a huge part really to business success overall. So that's good to hear. So I guess a little more high level. I mean, how would you say that owning a business has changed your life or changed you?
Well, it's certainly given me more freedom. It's given me, I don't know. It's definitely more fulfilling, right? When I work for other companies, you just never felt like I don't know. I just couldn't buy into it as much, right? I mean, I did my job, I did my work, but it was just a disconnect. So knowing that everything that I do every day is going to have a direct impact on the success of my business and what I do, right? So that's always rewarding. And then I like the challenge. You know,
absolutely.
I like the challenge.
Yeah, nothing worth having comes easy. That challenge definitely makes it worth it. So you talked about, what you do every day. Can you talk a little bit more about, do you have any daily habits, daily rituals, things that you do to move your business forward that you could share?
Well, as I said before, I still have a CPA firm, right? So my time is kind of split between the two. And in terms of P3, and this is where what I talked about earlier, my reluctance to be in sales. That is a hurdle and an obstacle I have to overcome. And so I find myself many times to where my default is to work with my accounting clients. And so what I have to do is be very intentional in terms of, okay, this is what I know that it takes to assign an audit. Here's the activity that needs to be produced. Here's what I know that I need to do on a weekly, daily basis, and just carve out time and take that time and focus on that task and that activity. Because it doesn't come natural, and it's not something that I naturally gravitate towards. I have to kind of say, okay, this is my focus time. This is what I need to do for this period of time to achieve what I want to achieve.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think there are some people out there that are wired naturally to do sales, and they just want to go talk to everybody and tell them about what they're doing. And that doesn't come naturally for me at all. If I'm in a social setting, I very rarely talk business. I'd rather just be friends with them first. And if that happens organically, great. I do not recommend that for growing your business. That is not the ideal way to do that. You need to be always networking and talking. But and so I think if you get out of that practice and you're not naturally inclined to do it, you can go from talking to 20, 30 business owners and not caring if they say no, feeling completely bulletproof, immune to rejection, and you take a few months off, and all of a sudden that same anxiety comes back, at least for me. And so then you really got to commit to kind of restarting the engine, saying, I'm going to go out and do 10 appointments or 10 calls or whatever and get back into it. So I think, I think that struggle is real for everybody, outside of just the true blue hardcore salespeople out there. So, great. Well, specifically in regards to, this business, well, or really just business in general, what advice would you offer somebody considering let's just start with that. What advice would you offer somebody considering getting into business for themselves or entrepreneurship?
I think with any business that you go into, you're going to work harder in that business than you've ever worked before, probably. Obviously every business is different. Every setup's a little bit different, but, plan to put in hours, work hard, and take care of things that you don't want to take care of. If you're your one-man show, you're going to be your own IT. You've got to handle, everything, right? So takes the ability to kind of, uh, shift your duties, so to speak. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm the best to give advice on that. I just, just if it's something that you want, make sure you want to do it. If you really want to do it, then you've got to put forth the effort, and understand what the challenges are, and how to meet them. So
appreciate that. I think it's always easy to discount the experience and expertise maybe that we've acquired over the years in business, because being humble and always improving is important. But yeah, Shannon, I mean, you've obviously done really well for yourself and multiple businesses. So I really appreciate you sharing that. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. Get to maybe a personal question, just learn a little bit more about you, and then we'll move to wrap it up, maybe with a couple more business questions. But I don't know. I want to hear some more about your hobbies. I know you like baseball. I want to hear any more hobbies, habits, quirks. Tell us something that people don't know about you. Maybe even your wife doesn't know. Let's surprise us. So
oh boy, I am one of the most boringest people that you probably know. So there's not a whole lot, to be honest with you. I am a simple man. I am a man of faith and family, and that's what drives me. There's really not a whole lot. I mean, I enjoy baseball, but I enjoy it, to be honest. I'm back into it because my boys like it, right? And they play, and we watch, and we talk about it. And in fact, I'm going to a game tonight, right? So
very cool.
Yeah, just and I like there's certain books I like to read. I really like World War II history. Reading a book now in regards to that. I don't know. That's right on. It. I'm serious. There's not a whole lot there.
Well, on one hand, that's the quintessential accountant answer. Then on another, you've gotten into multiple businesses and done quite a few risky endeavors. So, I really appreciate it, Shannon. So, I think where I'd like to wrap up is, I think it's important that people are always learning, sharing, and I would love to hear a couple recommendations for some business books that you have specifically around business to help people expand their minds a little bit and be more successful.
Okay. Let's see. Thinking about that, there's probably, I guess, maybe a couple that comes to mind. One is a book called The One Thing. It's a fairly new book. It's been out a few years, I guess. But it's a productivity book. It really helps you to get your focus on what really matters. What is the thing that you need to do to drive results? And it helps you to get in that mindset of thinking about that. And, not everything in the book I think is helpful, but there's a whole lot in there that is. And so I think for anybody that's going into business for themselves, or even if you work for a company, I think these principles can be very, very good. So that's one I would recommend, The One Thing. Others that I've benefited from, Zig Ziglar, just classic Zig Ziglar, right? In terms of mindset and whatnot. I think See You at the Top was the book that, really was impactful for me. But I would say probably those two.
Very cool. Very cool. And as you were talking about that, one thing that came to my mind, not, no pun intended, I guess, but was that I think maybe when people are getting into business or are already in business, it's easy to be overwhelmed by the number of like self-help things out there, the number of books, et cetera. And one thing that's benefited me really is reading a lot of these books. I've read the ones you've talked about, and really not trying to like do exactly what the book said, right? Like you said, there's some stuff in that book that it didn't resonate with you. And I think it's important that, you just learn and you take maybe one thing from everything you learn from and then make it your own, right? Everybody's got their own path forward. Everybody's unique. And it doesn't need to be overwhelming in that sense, just a constant learning and constant kind of making it your own and putting it together. So it was cool to hear that you maybe got one thing out of the one thing book. So,
right.
But
exactly.
Well, great. Well, Shannon, really appreciate the time today. It's been fun visiting with you. And I guess we'll catch up with you soon. But again, thank you for being on our podcast. And you're franchisee number 1, and you're the first one on the little franchisee mini series here. So you got a trend going there. But all right, awesome. Shannon. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll catch up with you later on.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it, man.
Okay, have a good one.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Enterprise Builders Podcast. See you again next time, and make sure to click subscribe to get updates on future episodes.